But one player who we haven't seen so far, and I track back to when we first started streaming Stadium Series last summer, all the way through WCOOP, EPT Online, Blowout Series Scoop, we've not seen Bonomo in action. This is the first time we've had Z Justin at a feature table.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually the name that stood out for me. You know, somewhat a how do you say this? You know, he's been in the game for a long time, but obviously, you know, grossly we see like tons of these online guys always consistently making these final tables. It's great to see kind of I don't want to say an old name. I'm not trying to take a shot at Bonomo, but you know, just like, you know, somebody from the old days of poker, so to speak. You know.
Yeah.
Justin Z Stallion.
Now, Joe, when we did our EPT retro streams at the start of lockdown last year, Justin Bonomo is a player who appeared very early on, made the final table of Deauville in season 1, and that's the event I actually attended. He was fresh off a deep run in PCA 2005. He then made the FT of the first EPT he played. It was the first time I met him. He was 18 or 19 years old at the time. Nice guy, clearly a very talented player, and he's just gone on to so much success over the year. Tens of millions of dollars in live earnings.
Yeah, super, super impressive.
Yeah, been in the mix forever and ever.
I mean, when you say tens of millions of dollars, I believe there was a single $10 million win in there as well, or pretty damn near close to it.
That's always going to help, right? So Connor Beresford opening here with tens and ace-jack for A. Ponikov.
Yeah, tricky spot here. You know, like you kind of want to be in there, but you kind of don't. Ace-jack off is just one of those awkward situations, especially at this stage in the tournament final two tables. You know, you're like, do I want to flat? I mean, 3-betting seems like weird here. You know, it's just one of those very, very awkward situations. I don't blame him for getting out of the way here. Ace-jack suited, obviously, different situation. You're in position against the initial opener, and you have a much more playable hand. Ace-3 actually is a much better hand to 3-bet. There you go. There's a suggestion of, you know, having a weaker hand and going for the more aggressive action, especially if you think that player is going to be capable of playing the entire range that they're supposed to play from this UTG position, trying to represent strength. I don't think he's going to get rolled over this time, though. Tens at this stage is, you know.
Do I have to write down on my notepad here that ace-3 is better than ace-jack? I'm already confused.
Exactly.
I'm already confused.
There you go.
Right.
There's the raise. You know, it's cool to see ace-3 actually making that play at this stage as well. Like, he's not ultimate deep, but it is a beautiful situation, and that's exactly the kind of combo that you want to have from that position. Those sort of like low suited aces that have the flush possibilities, and then obviously also have the opportunity to make the ace to 5 straight. You know, it makes it so much stronger. Spraggy always says, you know, ace-6 off, ace-7 off are like the most disgusting hands in the world, and that's why, because we're looking for this connectivity. We're looking for the opportunity to make big hands, and you don't want to deny yourself any extra equity if you're going to have a weaker hand to be putting in a 3-bet.
So Connor Beresford started the day as one of the shortest stacks, has managed to win a couple of decent pots, including an all-important double-up. However, Elis Parsonen could get some chips back here. Kings against king-queen. Queen on the flop, second pair. Parsonen near enough a 91% favorite.
Yeah, he's got this... He's got a great combo here, and it's a situation where he's always going to get some amount on the flop, right? You can't just assume that, you know, king-queen. You can't be giving up king-queen here. I mean, you really shouldn't give up any pair here whatsoever. For this size, you probably shouldn't give up any backdoor flush draw even. You know, it's a very, very small size, and Connor's in the position where he can actually, you know, take it to the streets and see if he can find a bluff at a later time in the hand as well. But in this particular situation, yeah, King's going for that ultimate small size. I'm very confident that is an extreme value bet in this situation, right? He's trying to milk every dime he can get out of here. He's not that concerned about the ace. He's recognized this is a situation where he can cap his opponent's range to a certain degree, and he's going to try and get every penny he can with his pair. That's not to say that the big blind won't turn up with an ace here once in a while. Good fold on the turn there, good fold. But, you know, when that opponent shows aggression on 2 streets, they're unlikely to have anything worse than, you know, King's plus, I think.
Right. So that notification there, 25-minute blind levels from now until the end of this super high roller as the blinds go up to 25,000, 50,000. One quick observation to make. Not sure Ponakov's going to get any action from this ace-king. Christian Rudolph, sevens guy, Wottenlos. We saw him in action last week. We were then told that he had reverted to the Flaming Seven as his avatar. What's he got now, a whale?
Yeah. It looks like it. Dare I say it? I'm not a marine biologist, but I want to say it's a sperm whale just because. Can I say that?
You can.
We play a lot of fishing games, and the whales, they're always coming.
Yeah, he's just playing with our emotions at this point, right, guys? You know, you have a brand, man. Stick to the brand. You can't be doing this to us.
So we have got Centaurus here with queens. And that is a raise to 105,000. King, queen for Chris Oliver. I'm the nuts.
Yeah. I mean, you might want to get in the mix here. Yeah, he does decide to come along. It is one of those awkward hands again. But he's probably going to do okay. I would be surprised if the big blind didn't call for a tiny bit more here. It's different when you're in a multi-way pot, though. You know, it's easier to call heads up multi-way king nine off. Obviously, not as good.
Now, obviously, Chris Oliver is an online force, but despite his 2 WCOOP titles and 1 Scoop title, is still probably best known to casual poker fans as that guy who came second to Galen Hall in the PCA in 2011.
Blacked to the max, Chris Oliver.
I should point out that second place finish, by the way, was worth $1.8 million, not to be sneezed at.
What a loser, second place. First loser, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, go home. Go home. Oh, what a turn. Oh, it feels so bad. You know, this is the same situation I was talking about just a second ago where we had the ace jack off and he decided to fold. There's a lot of ace X that wants to flat here and just keep the pot small, especially against an opponent that can take a big chunk out of your stack in this situation. So the ace high board is scary. There's also not that much benefit in betting. You know, sometimes you get some value from a 10 here, unless you river the straight.
Centaurus saved by the river, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is likely to end in the pot being divided.
Wow, so little action on the streets.
Oh, I love this chop pot so much. I love it. I love it for the pocket queens. I love it for the king queen. I just absolutely love, everyone loves a chop pot, and I love this.
Oh, man. These are always funny, right? Because you're like, wait a minute. I have it.
You check 5 times to make sure that you do have the actual nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then he clicks it, and then you click it back, and then he clicks it back.
2 spades.
And at some point around the third click, you know at the third click. You know around the third click, you know what's going on.
Okay,
at this
guys.
stage, right?
Well, this is a chop pot, and you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot.
Wow.
Meanwhile, we are switching
really
because we're going over to the other table to check on players like KZHH, the reigning Scoop main event champ, involved in a pot here against Laszlo Bushtas, Omaha for rolls.
Great name. We love it. We've seen him so many times before here, guys.
So is ace 4 also better than ace jack?
Guys, okay, first of all, we need to point out, you got queens, you rivered the straight, blockers are not real. Further confirmation that blockers are not real, right? Secondly, yes, ace 4, ace 3 of diamonds, ace 4 of hearts, ace 3 of diamonds better than any other ace X combo. Confirmed.
Okay, all right, well, it's on my list. I found my note, by the way.
Well, we've got Jack 10 all in here, called by Ace 10, Domination Nation, and rotation on the flop. And
now
that is going to be
particularly good news
for Space 411.
You know why, James? Because Space and Z Justin are the only 2 people in this for 3 buy-ins, which means a min cash, which is just over $50,000, would not be a profit for Spaze or Justin. So I'm watching those two very carefully while we're still in the 5-figure mark.
Well, Adrian Mateos here with ace-7, and Mike Watson dominated with ace-5, gets it in, and Adrian Mateos calls, and rotation again. Aces and 5s, and now Mike Watson gets there with the worst hand, and he doubles up.
Now, typically, I would be a little irritated by the worst hand winning there. However, since blockers aren't real, I will allow it. You have ace-5. What are the odds? Someone can't have another ace. They can have a bigger ace than you. You have ace-5.
Yeah, I think Modern Lurker said it best. Blockers are a lie perpetuated by Doug Polk and the mainstream poker media. I've been saying it for years. Doug Polk has a lot to answer for.
So just to clarify again, Joe, that is Spaze 411 and Justin Bonomo, Z Justin, both in for $75,000.
Correct.
Wow.
Drop in the ocean, baby. Drop in the ocean.
I see that there's a few players like Connor Beresford and Omaha for rolls in for 2, but they would still make a small profit, right? Because the min cash is just shy of 55,000. And 10s here for KZHH, 110K. Fabiano Kowalski from Brazil is still the chip leader, folds the ace-3. Laszlo Bustos with king-queen off. Flats.
Yeah, I was interested to see what he does here, because the king-queen off in this position is one of those really awkward ones. He's definitely deep enough to go ahead and play it. It's got tons of playability, king-queen off, even from out of position. 7s has the option, and that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. It is always coming 7, guys.
And that will give Spaze near enough 90% equity. And 2 pair now for Omaha for rolls.
Why would you ever play king queen in the small blind? It's got no playability. It just gets you in trouble every single time. It's like I said right at the start of this hand. Unbelievable.
Is this okay? This is sarcasm, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely savage. I mean,
king queen has out. 10s has out.
I'm looking for out. I have out.
Yeah. The power of positive thinking. And there is the all-in, which should get rid of the 10s. And unfortunately, Omaha for rolls cannot get away from this. Does not river anything that helps him. And so Spaze doubles up to 1.7 million. I am advised, Joe, by the way, that Spaze's first bullet was through a satellite. So maybe Spaze still makes a profit with a min cash, unlike Mr. Bonomo.
Can you imagine, like, winning a satellite to this and then going broke and being like, yeah, all right, I got in for free for the first one. I'll just flick in another 25K. Like, what? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't for free, but at a discount. It was still probably a 5K satellite.
Anyway. I was going to pump the 25K anyway. Might as well spin 2 now. Easy game.
Well, right now, the 3 shortest stacks with 15 players remaining are ALS Parsonen, Mike Watson, and Laszlo Bustos. It is E27 who is the shortest stack over at the other table with 638K. So a table of 7, a table of 8, playing down to a final table and playing down to a winner tonight.
This one seems about right. Limp with the 3s. I'm assuming it will be a limp jam over some sort of ISO from the big blind there, some sort of a raise over the limp. 10-6, obviously not the kind of combo you want to have in there that often. Bad flop for Spaze here because, you know, you are going to have the best hand a ton on a 10-5-5 board, and he's just sitting there with top pair. And, you know, if you're playing against good players, they can float this board really wide, right? So the trades that you bet on the flop could easily be the best hand on the turn here, where they've just got like king, deuce of spades or something like that, where they just think that the high card is still good, you know, blind v blind, where there's not been too much action pre-flop. This is a really sicko run out too, because I think 3s are going to be the best hand here quite frequently.
So Pedro Padilla won the 10K event that we watched on Wednesday of last week.
I mean, I guess there's only one way to move up from winning a 10K, and it's right here, right now.
This looks like such a blocker bet, though, no? Like, I mean, yeah, I feel like you gotta do something here. It just looks like they've got exactly what they have in a lot of situations. I feel like that size was quite big, though, right? Like, that seemed like a very, very extra large size to try and get a crying call from like pocket fives, pocket threes, pocket fours, that kind of hand. But he does take it down.
Fives would have been tough to have there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, a small pocket pair. Keep me honest, guys. Thank you.
So if you have just joined us on either Twitch or YouTube, a reminder, we're not yet at the final table. Day 2, as it says on screen, and always on the top left of your screen, you can follow how many players remain. 116 total entries and 15 left. So we have a table of 7 and a table of 8. And we have an all-in here from KZHH with ace 3. And Pedro Padilla folds the king 3.
Yeah, I think ace 8 is right here on the cusp, but it seems right. Seems good. Feels good. Feels good from that position as an open.
With
I
that
feel like
stack,
the sixes can just. Yeah, I feel like the sixes can just ship here. That's what I was gonna do. That was my play too. But you know, especially with that stack, you can afford to just go ahead and apply the pressure with those small pairs. We know that they don't play well posts, so just push the edge. Push the edge.
We've got some hands here. I was going to observe that Mr. Mateos has the snowmans.
Nom, 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 nom.
That is the least important, but it's the only thing we have an animation for.
I was going to say, really, this is going to be about ace-queen versus jacks, as Laszlo opens with the ace-queen, just limps with the ace-queen. Pedro Padilla with queen-jack.
Am I going to have to write down ace-8 greater than ace-queen?
You might have to write down queen-5 better than ace-queen in a second when we see this flop.
So Jack's now raised to 200,000. What does Mateos do now? A limp and a raise, and you've got 8s.
Yeah, I mean, you still want to be in the pot, right? You still want to see what's gonna go down here. You have an opportunity, and you're deep enough to actually realize the value of these 8s. There's the ace-queen, obviously, the jam that we were expecting from the start.
How do you not know that the limp shove is coming? I mean, come on. Who's limp calling ever?
Who limp jams these days? The new meta is limp jam.
There is no other way this hand plays out.
Flip the coin, and there's a queen on the flop, and that is going to be a double up for Omaha for rolls. Give that man his money.
Pay that man his money.
It's nice to see the pros fall for it too, right? If this was like a 7 p.m. Aria nightly and I fell for that, if I like called in a Mahdi spot and they shoved, I'd be like, I'm so dumb. Of course that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, it's like, you know, limp jamming used to just be riff, and then at some point everyone's like, oh, who limp jams anymore? It's so, you know, 1999. And then it's coming straight back. It's still here. It still lives. It's alive.
I think everyone knows that Adrian Mateos is a very talented poker player, but these results really put it into perspective. Won his first WCOOP title in 2018, followed that with another in 2019, followed by 2 WCOOP wins in 2020. And in this year's Scoop Series, the Spring Championship of Online Poker that was played back in April of this year, he won not 1, not 2, but 3 events.
Please be announcing all of these stats when he runs down 2 pair here. Just be like, and here comes another $100,000 in equity when the jack hits the river.
Oh, watch him overbet the pot here.
Hello. I got a gut shot.
We may not get to a river with this much action.
I got a gut shot. Let's just overbet it. Sure. Come on. 8-4.
I mean, what do you have here? 8-4? Oh, wait, you do.
What's he gonna have? 8-4? Oh, here we go. That feels good. That feels good when it comes in like that.
Okay, in that case, let's start talking about Fabiano Kowalski instead. Another player
Check
who's
the
won
river.
WCOOP
Yes, check the river. That's it.
in 3
gotta check the river.
consecutive years.
In 3, 2, 1.
You can't overbet the turn and then knock
Check
over
back.
the river. Good check. Good check. Good check. Good check. That's great. Yeah.
So Kowalski increases his chip lead. And yeah, just to recap, Kowalski's 3 WCOOPs, 2018, 2019, 2020. Will he win his 4th tonight? Will he make it 4 years in a row with a WCOOP win? Hey, I'd love to interview him on stream again so he can see his dog once more. Ace king, raise and take it. And we're still at 15 players. I mean, this is unusual, right? To have near enough 30 minutes of action straight after the money bubble and no bust outs. You would expect 1 or 2 eliminations right after they've made it into the money, Nick?
I mean,
yeah, I mean, we might be looking at one of those spots where it's like we've spoken about this before, like the slow, fast dynamic, where we've got a really slow bunch of 2 tables, and then it goes really fast at the end, or the fast, slow, where we see like it's really quick to get to the final, and then there's a heads-up battle for an hour or something like that.
I don't think it's that strange to have people digging in their heels to not go broke in a 25K, especially when laddering up is worth.
But it's not about digging in their heels. It's just the fact that every single all-in we've seen, the short stack has doubled up or chopped.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's right. Like true. We're just looking at, oh, we have an all-in here. This could be what we're looking for.
Nope, it is another double up, and it is going to leave Omaha for rolls super short with just 1 big blind.
Yeah, no, I agree with James, though. It's not, everyone's theoretically digging in their heels for the entire tournament, right? Like, just trying to get to this position. But I think more often than not, we see a bunch of setups, a couple cold decks, maybe 1 or 2 cold decks, and a couple like very obvious, just get it in like blind v blind spots. But yeah, the short stack's just doubling through. Easy game.
Oh, that is not a timeout. That's a ban.
An actual ban, a real ban. Okay, blind v blind here. Middle pair has to bet the turn at this stage. You want to get some value from those diamonds, from those 10s, from some trays, from some 9s. I think you go chunky, like, oh, he decides to check instead. I feel like 80K or something like that feels right to me, but certainly gives the ace-5 an opportunity to bet. But like when you have ace-high in this situation, you don't need to turn your hand into a bluff necessarily. You're going to have the best hand a chunk.
This has now become a Stracy Flushy board, Nick, and you've just got a jack. Betting now would feel optimistic.
Yeah, okay, but also if you check and they bet in this situation, you gotta feel somewhat confident that if they had a king on the turn or some sort of a straighting card on the turn, they would have bet. So I think you feel pretty confident about having the best hand when it's that passive all the way to the river. Ooh, pocket 10s here. Queen 9 feels like a good hand to play on the button in this situation. Got a decent stack to play here off 20 over 20 bigs.
And just a quick advisory, Nick, as we watch this hand play out. As it says in the middle of the table, there is a delay on this of 30 minutes because this is a cards up stream. So if you are watching in real time, please do not spoil the action for people following on that 30-minute delay by talking about what's happening in the future.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do not spoil. What's the point, guys? We're enjoying this. We're enjoying the action here with the commentary. It's not necessary. Just don't be that guy. Don't do it. Ace-3 here on the button feels like a hand you want to play. There it is. And 10-8 suited. Are you kidding me? That's a pretty hand. You definitely want to come along for at least just over the min. Yeah. Not a good flop, though. Not what you're looking for.
That's 3/5 of a flush.
Look at the size here, guys. Look at the size. This is how you play these shorter stacks right here. This is exactly what you need to be doing. This sort of quarter pot, I mean, in this situation, it's like 1/5 pot kind of thing. Totally effective. You don't need any more than that, especially on those ultra dry textures. It gives you an opportunity to actually develop a pot where you can bluff on better streets as well. That's not a great example of a hand where you have like lots of good turns where you're going to barrel off. But if you are barreling on boards like ace high, like it comes like ace 5-4, something like that, you're giving yourself the opportunity to take it down for a larger size on a later street, while also giving yourself the best possible price on the flop to just take it down as a bluff as well, while also keeping people in if you do actually have the hand.
So nines has opened, and we've got Mike Watson thinking about what to do with ace-7 of diamonds folds, and now chip leader Fabiano Kowalski, king-6 offsuit. Defends and flops top pair with a 6 high flush draw. Spades 4-1-1 has the 9 high flush draw. And gets there.
Spades man says, everybody look down at my 9 high flush.
Yeah, I like the slowdown. I like the slowdown. You've got a flush. You got a 6 high flush. You're like, there's no value, but like, you know, can I get to showdown for cheap? There it is. Cool. There you go. 9. Yeah, you're definitely always calling with the 9 of clubs there for sure.
Oh, look at this. We've got Omaha for rolls forced all in from the big blind for less than 50K. 7-4 of spades, almost the bond hand. And it's 3K to call. You got to do it, right?
Yep.
Pair of 3s against a pair of 7s. And that is going to be more than a double up for Omaha for rolls. Has almost 2 big blinds now.
That's really,
pocket
really
rockets.
Positive spin, James. More than a double up.
More than a double up.
Should point out that 15th, 14th, and 13th all pay the same. So there's not really any laddering to be done here.
Maybe not the place to take the stand. I don't know. I'm not a small blind expert.
It's just balancing that timing, you know, just balancing it out. No big deal.
Well, the blinds have just gone up to 30,000, 60,000. So Omaha for rolls back in a situation where he has 1 big.
Okay. Don't know if he's going to get much action here. The 7's in the big blind. You know, we're going to see what's going to happen, but I just don't think that you got the stack here where you want to be, you know, pushing it. You know, that 10-3 suited, obviously not part of that range from the button. Not the kind of hand you want to be playing, just generally speaking, but also none of the characteristics of a situation where you're going to open up your range, where you're like, you know, the big boss on the table with all the chips, trying to apply pressure to those individuals under 20 big blinds or something like that. Ace-3 feels bad. No, don't do it. No, Kowalski, come on. Ace-3 feels bad here.
Polska Pani's question. No, Kowalski 1 is Fabiano Kowalski from Brazil.
Oh, that explains it. Sorry, take it back, guys.
Fabiano Kowalski, how do you spell that?
And Pedro
Those Brazilians, man.
So ace tray is better than ace jack, but not as good as ace queen, is what you're saying.
Ace 3 of diamonds, the absolute nuts. Jacks are all in, of course. Yep. And this is a weird spot for ace queen now. Wow. This is ultra tough here. I mean, I guess you're calling, but well, I don't know. It's so close here. Once you've played your hand in this way, you've really under rep, so your opponents can have a ton of squeezes there that are like weaker than ace queen. But yeah, I don't hate the fold. It really is close there.
Oh, so we have Kowalski with the sailboats. Meanwhile, Omaha for rolls with nines. So calls
Snap.
all in. KZHH could re-raise here with ace-king and force a fold from Kowalski.
Yeah. Oh, awkward stack depth here. I think the 3-bet non-all-in is probably more preferable. he gives him the horseshoe. Yeah, that's it.
Funny,
that's what we're
every
looking
time.
for. I'm feeling pocket fours now. I'm feeling pocket fours now. Can we even show this?
We're off to the races.
There he is.
And
Hey,
it is a wheel on board. It's the straight for
told you.
KZHH.
Told you.
And we lose our first player of the day. It is Omaha for rolls. It's Laszlo Bushitas who's out in 15th place, cashing for nearly $55,000. And back to the action, we have the chip leader, Fabiano Kowalski, opening with the pocket rockets.
Yeah, he's been active in a couple pots at this stage. He played a couple pots just now, you know, and didn't get the result he wanted. He's rewarded with the aces here, UTG. There's only 1/6 left in the deck.
That aces are like a little too strong to count for the high and the low. Like they're already the strongest card out there. Like maybe we take away the bottom end straight with the ace. I don't know. It's just something I'm floating.
Classic Adrian Mateos flop, trip kings.
Nick, you have aces here. Are you immediately dejected at seeing two kings in this flop, or are you just like, I mean, what are the odds?
You know, it's interesting you say that because the king 4 flop specifically actually is more considerably trips than, you know, like for example, like, you know, a 5-5-4 flop or like, you know, a 10-10-4 flop, or actually that's a bad example, like a 9-9-4 flop. So a lot of the small blind combinations, whether you're playing full ring or a small blind, will contain king X or 10X or jack X, like a lot of these sort of middling combos that people just want to be involved with. And so it definitely is one of the more weird, scary, you know, trips where you should have the best hand here a ton, but it's one of those flops that you actually are more concerned about. The check from the king queen on the river here, which I like a lot. He has the ace of diamonds. How does he not try and go for value here, right?
Luckily for Kowalski, it was not a diamond on the river. Had the no good flush draw on the turn when Mateos made the full house. Does, however, bet 510,000 and check raise incoming.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And when he uses this size, you're like, holy shit, he actually has a thing. He actually has a thing going on here. So now, you just bang it? What do you think?
Yeah, do you think Adrian, he bangs it. He bangs it. Do you think that was all just sort of timing there, or was he checking some sort of chart to make sure he had the nuts just to be sure before?
You know, it's always important you check the chart. For kings full, do I go all in? All signs point to yes. There you go. I think with this stack depth, this is the only play you have. You want to get paid by the absolutes here, and that's pretty much it, right? On this kind of a texture with this hand, you block so much of it. It's so hard for him to have a queen that he wants to call with. It's so hard for him to have a king. It's so hard for him to have, even a made flush here in this situation. But that's what you're trying to punish. You're trying to punish the absolute max. The check on the river got him what he wanted, but I think aces have just got to, I don't blame him for going for value, but
that was a huge pot for Adrian Mateos, up to 3.3 million. Meanwhile, Justin Bonomo has just been moved to this table. We've got to keep both tables balanced. Two tables of 7 now, and Bonomo getting straight into the action. Jack 10 of clubs under the gun makes it 126K.
I wonder if Bonomo just feels kind of weird playing a tournament that's only $25,000 to buy in. You know, when you've played $1 million buy-in tournament, what's 25K? It's probably hard to take it seriously.
I think the percentage you have of your own action might differ.
Red Pixel in the chat says, wouldn't a 500K check raise give you more value most of the time? That's the thing. That's kind of what what I was trying to say is I think in that spot, you've got so much, you're only getting paid by like ace 10 of diamonds. You know, you're only getting paid by, you know, 8-7 of diamonds, that kind of thing. There's such the narrow range that actually wants to call the check raise. You might as well punish the absolute strongest hands because everything else is going to get out of the way. It's going to be a bluff or whatever. And I think in that specific run out, I don't think going small makes any sense because it's not that much more for the shove and you're only going to get called by the absolutes. Like if he knows that he has aces exactly every single time, the click back might be more effective. But for the most part, the way the hand played out, I think you're probably going to just do better going for the absolute value. You're going to make more. Yeah.
Well, a controversial decision by Sir Watts here not to play the Grafton, and he would have been rewarded with top 2.
For now. Now we'd have top 2 on a 4-card straight board. And what did C. Justin end up with an open-ender, huh?
It's not over yet. There's still one card to come. And right now, Justin Bonomo is near enough a 9-1 favorite. Would have been a full house for Mike Watson, NBD.
And the runner-runner 2 pair when you're open-ended. Everybody's favorite. Ooh, baby. Ooh, Amadi.
Oh, interesting spot. Like he actually finds, you know, he's kind of right to bluff here. I mean, I know it's weird to turn ace high into a bluff in this situation, but you do want, okay, yeah, you do want to try and get these hands to fold. And I think when it runs out, you can still get an 8 to fold there once in a while. So he does correctly recognize the situation where he doesn't have the best hand. And he's actually going to try and take it away from him because it's the kind of run out where people can get away from those sort of weakish, middling hands on a wet texture. Good call, though. Yeah, I like the Queen 8 call. It's very nice.
Yeah, no real surprise to see Justin Bonomo on the ascent, currently ranked 4th overall behind Space 411, KZHH, and Kowalski 1. Fabiano still the chip leader with 14 players remaining. Meanwhile, Mike Sir Watts continues to lurk in the danger zone.
Danger zone! I've been working
up
on
there now, man. Your voice.
Getting it, yeah,
your voice,
getting back to where I once was.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta work up to it, but that was about as high as I've heard in a long time. What? A bet
I would love it
there. Wow.
I would love it, Joe, if you went back to your throat specialist. Like, we finally diagnosed what the problem is, and it's that stupid high-pitched squeal that you do on Danger Zone on these broadcasts. You must stop doing this.
I love that. I love that. You know. It's my trademark.
They're like, we analyzed your vocal cords, and it looks like you've been singing a song out of sync. It goes up and down.
Yeah, I'm a peacock captain. You got to let me fly, right? I'm a peacock. You can't do this to me.
Kowalski with the queens.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. 8-9 suited, though, in the big blind. That's the kind of hand you don't want to see with the queens. Very difficult to predict when it's going to flop super big. Big. Okay. Just the piece you want. Never mind. Take it back. That's good.
90 into 322. And this is the battle of the two biggest stacks, numbers 1 and 2 on the leaderboard.
Tricky one for 8-9 here, because this is the kind of texture where you can just put in 2 bullets with air, you know. Probably not air if you're opening from this position, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, just you know, nothing stronger than a pair, just anything that you might want to try and bully people off. So you should be pretty sticky here with 8-9, I think. But it's always interesting to see how they react in tournament. Yeah, in the tournament setting, it's a different situation, right? You don't need to be so stubborn. If you're playing in a cash game, it's kind of just comes down to what you know you should do. And then in a tournament, it's kind of, am I better erring on the side of caution, you know, maintaining my stack and getting closer to those big 6-figure payouts. And look at them, guys. Geez, these payouts are unreal.
So Watts takes a stand. Mike Watson all in with ace-5, and I think this is going to get through. And the blinds and antes are going to make a significant difference to his stack.
Well, the good news is I can't accidentally congratulate Mike Watson for cashing in this super high roller.
PA Dutchman 1 says, Nick, peacocks don't fly. Well, with that attitude, absolutely. Yeah.
I got the reference, Nick. It's a movie I actually rewatched recently, and it's a movie that I remember enjoying when I first saw it, but watching it 10 years later, I was a bit like, yeah, it's a mess. There are still some fun, there are some funny parts, but overall it is a mess.
Honestly, I'm just watching it for the funny parts. Me and my friends are quoting that film on the reg. You know, it's so many specific funny quotes from that one. But I hear what you're saying. Guys, peacocks are real, okay? They're real.
Just like blockers.
Okay.
Peacock blockers.
So ace-9 opens, ace-king re-raises.
Just why even with the ace-9? Just...
Yeah, I mean, you got to be playing ace-9 here, though. You got to do it. You got to be playing ace-9 here. It's just... It's just like a desk pop. Hey, James, when was your last desk pop?
We got a disco. Hopefully, KZHH gets back online soon.
That's how you know we've been doing this too long. We actually have a disco graphic. That's just awesome. That's just awesome. James, when was your last desk pop?
Good couple of months, Nick.
Yeah, October 2015.
So yes, you're right, Joe. We can congratulate Sir Watts for cashing in this because the 15 players who came back for day 2 were all in the money. Bubble was very late last night. It was Ezaev's 1991 who was the last player to be eliminated on day 1. Didn't make it back for the final day of this $25,000 buy-in event, and no longer in contention for the first prize of more than 657K.
I know it's not super relevant right now, but if we could for a second just talk about, so yesterday when my power came back on, I saw that Pieface had been tweeting that he was like deep in this event. And by the time I was able to watch streaming video again, his channel was dark and I was so bummed out, like just so excited for him. And I hope he's okay because my level of disappointment was like pretty high and it wasn't even me.
Well, I have been punked now on 2 occasions, or fake punked, I should say. I thought Spraggy's wedding photo was a joke, and I thought Pi tweeting a picture of the fact that he'd won entry into a 25K was a joke. Turns out they were both real things, and yeah, when I checked in, Pi was like a top 5 stack, and look, as you referenced, Nick, he got unlucky in a couple of very, very big spots. And that hand, I'm sure we've all seen the video. And what's particularly painful about it is, you know, if you're going to lose, you might as well lose in style, but it's a horrible way to lose. And the fact that he just sits there staring at the screen in silence for what feels like a minute is torture, torture to experience.
Yeah, it was horrible to say. Like that was I was sort of panning through just to kind of see what happened on Twitch, and yeah, the sort of disassociation was real, you know, just the unreality of it all. And like I said, like everyone's seen the sort of bad run out with the Kings, right? But that was a situation where it went in pre, and I have actually literally used software where in a situation where I'm all in, it actually puts a square of color over the board, just because you know, like, okay, cool, you know that you got it in good, you know you got it in bad, whatever. I just don't want to see the run out, and that was a classic case of I don't want to see the run out. Like the guy has kings, cool. Like, okay, you know, I think Pi played awesome in that spot. I don't think there's anything else you can do. Seeing the run out is so ultimately savage. And the one thing that I kept coming back to was like, you know, if I was just grinding on my own like I used to back in the day, you know, you can use this sort of like mental game software, you know, to a certain degree, just to try and like avoid, you know, disappointment. And you kind of try and avoid the situations where you're like, oh, it always runs out stupid. Like I always flop trips, then they river the boat, you know, and stuff like that. It's really silly. So it's not useful. But then you're like, oh, that's right, I'm a streamer, and the pain has to be visible. I have to live in the pain.
Right.
Right. It's part of my brand. It's part of what I do. And so, yeah, I feel for him.
Nick.
But
we can talk about how it was full house versus royal flush, but in reality, you moved all in with ace queen, understanding how to do it, and you ran into kings. End of story.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you know, and I'm not trying to belittle the situation. It is very, very disappointing when it comes like that, especially when you feel confident on the turn, like I said, that you have the best hand.
Yeah.
But it was just
the good news is he only knew he had a full house for about 1 second before the royal flush hit.
You know. Okay. If there's one thing that you guys should respect on PokerStars, the beat only lasts about 2 seconds. You know, there are websites where it drags. Oh, it drags. Like, you know. You get it all in.
Give me the opportunity to drag it out, and
delayed.
I would love it. Love it if we had the power on this stream to give you the TV all-ins.
Can we just slow it down? James just presses a button and the river comes extra slow. Extra pain. Yeah, exactly. I feel for him a lot. But yeah, that spot I mentioned earlier, guys, he flopped trips. I think it might have been blind v blinder or something like that, but he flopped trips and he was sort of like, you know, milking the guy, and the guy turned up with queen high, and then he backdoored the flush. That was probably in my opinion, that would be more painful than the all in and the loss to
like
the straight
backdooring
flush.
a pair of sixes here.
Yeah, and I think
easy game.
I think this is going to be the last hand of the session. Sure enough, the players are now on break, a 5-minute hiatus in the action. And Nick, we're going to give you a quick break as Joe and I take a detailed look at the last few days of the series with our WCOOP correspondent. Okay, everyone, put your hands in the air like you just don't care.
He's got the looks, he's got the brains, he's Howard Swains.
And Howard, we referenced it earlier, we have crossed the $1 billion mark. When did it happen?
Yeah, we have. It happened on Saturday night. So there were a bunch of tournaments that started on Thursday that finished on Saturday night, and there were some single-day events that just played out entirely on Saturday. I can't tell you exactly when it actually happened, but to answer your question, WCOOP hit the $1 billion mark on Saturday night.
Oh, come on, Howard. I need the time. I need the minute. I need the second. Okay, here's a chance for some detail then. I was looking at the PokerStars blog and I saw a lot of familiar faces on the homepage. I'm guessing some big names have won WCOOP silverware.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this WCOOP has really been one for the established stars, actually. We've had tons of players that we really know very well. So Luke Schwartz, he's a scoop crusher. He's not actually won a WCOOP until Thursday night when he won his first, and then he was heads up for a second on Saturday night. So that was very nearly back-to-back. But that was in a stud high-low event. he lost to Mike Watson, Sir Watts, and that was Mike Watson's career third WCOOP title. We also had Dinesh out. He won his second of this year. He's Nasty Minder, as that's his third overall. So also we've had Maxim Lykov, Christian Rudolph, Talal Shakurchi, Adam Owen, Ami Berra, and Diego Ventura. Diego Ventura, you watched come second, and he's now 1-1 as well. So he's got a first and a second. It's been a crazy couple of days.
Howard, when am I getting my shot of adrenaline, a.k.a. where is Denis Strebkov?
Well, it's funny, actually, because I honestly thought that Strebkov might not be playing again. Sean Deeb isn't, so I didn't know about Strebkov. But then, lo and behold, Strebkov popped up last night. He's now second of 19 coming back today in the 5-card PLO. So he's got 9 titles. Is he going to make it 10? I mean, it's super interesting. I mean, he still leads the all-time WCOOP leaderboard there. But he's not unassailable, because last night, Jussi Nevanlina won his 6th title in a 1K8 game. And then you can see Yuri Martins on there. So he won his 5th last week, incidentally beating Nevanlina. So, I mean, Yuri Martins is obviously like a great crusher, and Brazil themselves are just going all out this year. You can see there that Brazil are crushing. They've won 21 titles already. The most any country has ever won is in a single WCOOP is 35, which was Brazil last year. And so they could easily smash that. Russia and the UK are in second place with 11 each, but it just seems like they're miles behind. I'd say this is over already.
Come on, Brazil, share the love.
That's 21 Vamoses for Brazil. Howard, now that we are more than a week in, I guess we can legitimately talk about player of the series?
Yeah, we can legitimately talk about it. And I honestly think we'll be talking about this all the way through, because we thought Patrick Leonard, he flew out the block, so we thought he might be going all the way, but he's been reined in by this Canadian player, who I guess you pronounce his name, Cammy Lancefield G. I don't know much about him, but I took a look through his results this morning, and you should listen closely. He or she's got 30 min cashes already. Yes, that's 30 min cashes, 6 other top 20 finishes, and 3 third places. So they've had no wins, no runner-up spots, but 3 final tables and a total of 36 cashes already. It's insane. They mostly play low and medium stakes. They're a mixed game specialist because they won a horse event in Blowout Series in January. I mean, you still have to back pads probably, but this is going to get very interesting, I think.
Yeah, and interesting to see both Talal Shakurchi and Konstantin Maslak in the top 5. Howard, thank you very much for that detailed, extended update. We will check in with you again tomorrow.
You're welcome. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
As we return to the final 2 tables in WCOOP 34 High, it's the 25K Super High Roller. Fabiano Kowalski, start of day chip leader, still has the chip lead with 4.3 million. We're going to play down to a winner tonight, but right now we still have 2 tables in action. And let's head back to the chip leaders table, the 2 biggest stacks, in fact. KZHH and Kowalski won. Hold up, where's Joe Stapleton?
Looking for a hot dog.
And this is not looking good for Sawat's neck, because Adrian Mateos has got the rockets.
Oh, yeah. You're not folding those, James. You're not folding those. Wow, that's great. I love those updates from Howard, by the way. Shout out to Howard once more. Those are so fun to keep up to date. I think also, like, if you're an online player, you know, the live events get so much televised coverage, you know, and they get so much heat in that sense. It's so fun to recognize that our WCOOP is just the same. You know, it's still a series of tournaments that, like, you might get anywhere else. Let's see how this plays out first. Oh, it's looking really good for the aces. Oh, it's looking really good. Yeah.
On the turn, so that is a win for Adrian Mateos, up to 3.5 million, as we switch over to the other table and see Sawat's bust in 14th place. We just referenced the fact that he won his 3rd WCOOP over the weekend, but he's not going to win his 4th tonight. 14th place finish worth just shy of 55K. And here we have Crazy Lissy versus Votenlos, another player Howard referenced in that update. Nick, Christian Rudolph,
Yep.
sevens guy, winning his third WCOOP title.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, going back to what I was saying, I just think this is it's so awesome to have that sort of coverage and to realize that you're part of you are part of the World Championship of Online Poker, and it is as prestigious as any sort of live event. And that's really, really exciting to see. And, you know, the same people turning up at the top. It's cool to see some new faces as well, right? You know, like you mentioned, the guy that's currently in the lead right now. But the thing that really got me going, actually listening to that, was about the consistency of the players who are currently top of the leaderboard, right? Just min cashing every event they play, top 20 finishes, a couple third places. And I think that's really important for people to recognize as well. I think if you're coming up in poker, you have this feeling like, oh, these guys are just always winning all the time. Like they're just crushing all the time. And they're just all, every time I turn on my Facebook or I turn on my Twitter or whatever, they have like, a 400,000 score or whatever. There's so much more that goes into professional poker. And a ton of it is just consistency. If you can min cash at that frequency, you already are making a lot more than the next guy. If you can get top 20 a little bit more than the next person, there's a significant payday that's associated with that. And tons of the actual profit of professional poker comes from that and not necessarily from these giant scores. Although if you're an MCC player, of course, those are important too. But that's great. I think there's a lesson in that,
So the shortest stacks at this table are Conor Beresford, who's back down to less than 500K, and Christian Rudolph, Votenlos, playing around 900K. We are still at the 30-60 blind levels, and blinds will go up in around 2 minutes' time.
Yeah, we might see a tangle here. Ace-4 off, definitely a hand you want to be playing on the button. Blockers aren't real, confirmed once again. Ace-Queen in the big one here, going to want to do something.
That is a virtual all-in.
Yeah. Oh man, this is a tough spot for Trays. I think with ICM, you're probably just going to fold. Yeah, I think that's it. Ace Queen obviously not getting away. That's going to be a get in here, of course, every time.
And yeah, flowers on the grave of Christian Rudolph, who calls all in a dominated situation. Ace-4 Queen. Wow, two pair for both players. Aces and queens crush aces and 4. Christopher Oliver eliminating Votenlos, sevens guy. Christian Rudolph, he's gone in 13th place. He cashes for just shy of 55K. We now get a money jump, Nick. Everyone who busts between 12th and 10th place gets 69 grand.
Nice. That's a chunk of change. Yeah, it's pretty inevitable, I think, in that situation. I don't think there's much else you can do. So just, you're going to get the ace in there a lot of the time. And obviously ace queen not getting out of the way. The trays, I think, is a good decision, though. I think these are the kinds of adjustments that you want to make. Trays is probably already a little bit borderline there in the first place when you got to shove on the button, because you're basically always going to be flipping unless you're up against ace deuce, ace tray, that kind of thing. King. The important thing to note here is at this stack depth, king deuce, king deuce, king tray isn't going to be in there, and you want as many combinations of as many dominating combinations as you can when you have those pairs. Now, pocket fours, on the other hand, I think probably get really close, because then you're crushing deuces and trays, which isn't that many combinations, but it does make a considerable difference to your overall win rate. Again, fours probably with the ICM pressure is still going to come out. I imagine that probably you're going to be a lot tighter, but still interesting to think about. Once again, ace off on the button. This time looking better.
Yeah. Ace deuce for Chris Oliver and Jack 7 for Conor Beresford. 10-5 off for Elis Parsonen. And that is going to be raise and take it for I'm Donuts as the blinds go to 35-70. So Chris Oliver sits in third place on the leaderboard now. Over at the other table, we've got Adrian Mateos on 3.7 million and Fabiano Kowalski on 4 million. Those are the two biggest stacks. Centaurus here with the Grafton and raises with 10-9 suited, 147K. Was it Badge Saro asking how many bullets Votenloos was in for? Just the one. Only in for a single bullet, whereas Conor Beresford, who is the short stack right now, is in for 2. That being said, guaranteed at least 69 grand. Will make a profit regardless. Centaurus with another decent hand.
Sorry, James. Yeah, we have a question in the chat here about ICM. I know we use a lot of jargon here when we're on this channel. ICM, as was put in the chat, stands for the independent chip model, and there's kind of a very fancy explanation of what that means. But effectively, what ICM represents, or what we use it for, is to correctly adjust for the value of our chips when we have a staggered payout. So as we're getting through the money, there are situations where if you were playing a winner-take-all game, you would just go for the, you'd go for the kill every single time. But with the ICM implications, there are situations that you avoid because even if you think there's a slight edge, the value of your chips represents something that is more valuable than the risk that you're about to take. So as we're getting down closer to the final table, especially in the last 5 positions or something like that, what we're saying is we're going to play with a slightly tighter range if we're one of the middling stacks because we don't want to get taken out by a bigger stack. If we're the smaller stack, we should be more likely to take risks because we need to double through in order to win the tournament, etc. So winner take all represents a format where you can basically just go, this is the right play, I will do it every time because there's no questions asked. The same kind of applies for cash games as well. But as soon as we get into these pay jumps where a misstep could cost you 20 grand, 40 grand, 100 grand, something like that, we adjust using the ICM model in order to try and realize the value of the chips that are in our stack. Because as we get closer to the money, each individual chip represents a greater and greater value as it stands against the actual payouts.
Oh, we saw a raise here from Ellis Parsonen with ace-jack. He's flopped a gut shot Broadway draw, and ace-high is the best hand. Not much for Centaurus, who defended their big blind with 5-3 of hearts. And on to the next hand.
Yeah, I think you're going to defend pretty much any suited hand in that situation. But you got to know when to give up. And obviously, it's not hard to give up that hand in that situation. Blind v blind, though. This looks spicy.
Yeah, and this is a relatively short stack. Ponakov deciding whether to go for it. Will regret this decision because Chris Oliver is waiting in the big blind with ace-king. We have seen a couple of domination rotation situations this evening, Nick, and Ponakov's going to need to get lucky here.
Oh.
Always coming 7.
Oh.
And no help for Ponakov, so we lose a Ponakov in 12th place. As previously referenced, that's worth just over $69,000. That is going to take us down to the final 11, a table of 6, a table of 5, and that means we're 2 bust outs away from being at the FT in this 25K.
Yeah, another good example there as well. Like, again, deuce is probably a bad example, but if you're in that situation where Centaurus had the deuces in the small blind, let's say it was like 5s or 4s, you need to really consider from a theoretical standpoint, okay, cool. Will I have the best hand a lot here against a shove from that position? Sure. Will I be like 5% favorite a lot of the time, pretty much every single time? Yes. Is that worth my tournament life? No. If you're in a vacuum and you're playing purely for cash, then you just take every edge you can get. Doesn't matter. Just take the edge. But do you want to put yourself in a situation where you think that you can play better than other players in situations like, pre-flop, post-flop, or a situation where, he can bust out against another player and I can be laddering, I can get closer to that money. And that really encapsulates the sort of ICM implications, what we're talking about.
Crazy Lissy opening here with ace-7 of strawberries. Queen 10 on the button for Chris Oliver. Flats in position. 6-4 off for Conor Beresford, who is getting super short now. 3 big blinds for Connor.
Yeah, this is one of these spots as well, guys. I was speaking to a friend of mine who plays a lot of high stakes, and these late game in position spots where somebody opens and you have the opportunity to flat, where you feel like there's not a lot of friction that's going to come from behind you. These are situations where you can just go to town, because playing out of position at these stack depths is very difficult. Even if you're the best in the world, it's very, very difficult. It goes check, check on the flop. That's really interesting. I think what's interesting to remember here, though, if you're playing really, really well, if you're playing close to GTO, a lot of the checks on this flop texture will be made hands like A7 that are not giving up, right? So the sort of level one thinking is, okay, cool, so he checked, therefore he's weak. That's just not true. If you're playing against good players, a check is scarier than a C-bet, because a C-bet is so frequently going to be bluffs. So the bet is actually going to be a lot more air than the check, if that makes sense, guys. I'm surprised that Queen 10 didn't try and take it away on the turn here, though. You know, he's got the big draw. He has the opportunity to make a hand that's going to be very meaningful on the river. And at this point, I think A7 has got to be super confident they have the best hand. So much so, he's actually going to go for a little bit of a blocker here.
Yeah, 146K gets the job done.
Yeah, you know, you have to wonder, you know, the Queen 10... Your opponent's showing a little bit of weakness by check. Like I said, the flop check is actually quite strong. The check turn obviously is indicating a lot more weakness. This is something that a lot of people underestimate too. Like, there are certain plays that you expect all the time, and then there are certain things that you can expect to be a specific thing later on. So a turn check in that situation, in my opinion, is always going to be weakness, not necessarily a hand that he wants to fold, but weakness in the sense that he doesn't want to be involved. You know, he's kind of just taking it nice and slow. He feels confident that he has the best hand. So, you know, I wonder what a big chunky bet on the turn would look like, and how effective that would be once you get the second check. But, you know, these guys are the 25K players. So maybe an adjustment again for just, you know, like just maintaining their tournament lives.
I don't know if you saw the pop-up there, Nick, but it did say that hand-for-hand play is in progress. And some of you might be thinking, hold on a second, have we lost another player? No, we are at 11. We have a table of 5 and a table at 6, but kind of Beresford all in, ace-king against 5-4, and that is going to be a double-up for Connor, keeping his head above water. So we're going to switch to the other table. We're going to see the other 6 players remaining. And yes, I have been advised that in the high-stakes games, when we get to this level, we go hand-for-hand at 11, 2 away from the final table, rather than at 10 when we're down to 2 tables of 5. And I wonder if that is to compensate for the disparity between there being a table of 5 and there being a table of 6.
Jack deuce off, come on. Like, can you think of a more ugly hand ever in the history of poker? I mean, I would prefer 7 deuce off than Jack deuce off. It's just, whoa, so far away.
So we've switched back to this table where it's Queen 10 versus Queen 9.
Yeah, it looks like this was blind v blind with a limp. Super interesting to see what happens here, because Queen 10 obviously didn't take aggressive action after the limp. And yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like, I think if you're going to check Queen 10 on this flop, you do need to be floating, because you will have the best hand. Tons. People completely underestimate the value of Queen high, King high, Ace high. The question is, does Queen 9 want to go ahead and barrel this turn? I think they've recognized correctly that this is a spot where their opponent has kind of the hand that they say they have. That's not to say that he wouldn't check a hand like aces in this situation. He limps and then decides to slow down. He's more likely to do that on a paired board, though, as opposed to a 3-card, you know, randomized flop.
Yeah.
But well played by the Queen 9 there. Very nice.
So Connor Beresford, we saw get that double up, but is still short. We have a blind on blind situation here. Chris Oliver with King 10, Connor with Ace 4 of diamonds. And sure enough, I'm the nuts shoves on Connor, who calls all in with Ace 4.
Oh, yeah.
And Ace high is holding. Ace high is good. Ace high is no good. The 10 on the river, and Connor Beresford is eliminated, is KO'd in 11th place. And that will take us down to 10 players. Pedro Padilla moved across to this table, balancing out 2 tables of 5, still hand for hand, and now on the final table bubble in the 25K Super High Roller.
Yeah, GG Connor, 6 spot. It's just textbook there. King 10, always a shove. Ace 4 of diamonds, always a call.
Switching.
Oh, what are you gonna do?
Adrian Mateos facing a raise with Ace Queen. It's Justin Bonomo who's opened with Queen 9. And there is the re-raise.
Yep. Yep. Definitely deep enough for the 3-bet here. 3-bet NAI. Not all in, and takes it down. Very nice. I appreciate the raise. You know, you got to be playing Queen 9 there. Queen 9 suited is a monster when you're shorthanded like this, and you know that I love that shorthanded action. James, you know that.
Oh, yeah. So, KZHH opening with Jack 10. Pocket 4's the sailboats for Fabiano Kowalski, who calls, and that is a set for Kowalski.
How does it feel? Final 2 tables, flopping a set. Wow, that's how you win tournaments right there. Honestly. Oh, and he makes top pair. It just gets better. I keep looking at the screen. It gets better. It's getting...
Just have a full house, why don't you? Fabiano Kowalski did come in to play today as chip leader. That is a position that is now occupied by Chris Oliver at the other table. And we can see he's not even table chip leader here because Adrian Mateos now has 4.8 million. This pot could get him back in contention, Nick.
Okay, look at the size. Look at the size. Now, there was a check on the flop, and that's very meaningful. And on the paired board deuce on the turn, ace high, king queen, that kind of thing is going to be calling all day. He recognizes his opponent is capable of slowing down and then actually getting to a river with those kinds of hands. Now, I'm going to predict he goes kind of small here to try and capture some of that ace high, king high call. So like 300, 400, something like that feels right because you still want to get called by like ace king here. You still want to get called.
Oh, overbets.
Or you just go crazy. You just go absolutely mental and you overbet. You love to see it.
This is where KZ is in danger of overthinking this.
Well, no, that's it, James. That's it,
call.
James. That's exactly it, because like what I'm getting at, you can either go ultra small to try and guarantee it, or you can try and represent like ultimate weakness where you're just going for the absolute blast off. The fact he has top pair is super hard to get away from. I think the 10 call there is totally normal. But recognize that they're the same thing, guys. This is what I'm talking about sizing, right? You go, yeah, I'm pretty sure he could have some weaker stuff. He could have some top pairs. He could have, well, top pair not being weak, but like he could have some ace highs. He could have some king highs. The best way to make his hand look weak there is to overbet on the river. And that's the same as betting small. They both indicate weakness in a sense. And that is an amazing sizing there from Kowalski. That's the kind of shit that we are trying to see here on the stream all the time.
Well, we're switching back to the other table where it's a pair of deuces against a pair of tens. Just want to reference there, that pot was 2.9 million. Kowalski getting paid on that full house and up to 5 million. Second on the leaderboard now behind Chris Oliver, who's likely to win another pot. Crazy Lissy betting with deuces. Chris Oliver raising with tens.
Yep,
so
this feels
much
good.
Drama.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised in this situation if he had a hand like Jack 10, he might just go ahead and flat. But, you know, the computer tells us King 10, Ace 10, those kinds of hands, those are the ones you want to be check raising with, because you do want to check raise with your strong top pairs, and you do want to be flatting with some top pairs as well. So, again, a balanced situation there. It's really interesting.
Nick, computers can be wrong. Anyone who saw 2001 A Space Oddity will know that, when Hal wouldn't open the pod bay door. I wanted to reference, in addition to this being the final table bubble, it is also a money jump because the next player out gets 69K, 87K if you can make it to the top 9.
Oh, man. Serious. Ace 6 here. Feeling pretty good. When you raise on the button, this is pretty much as good as it gets. You know, even an ace in this scenario doesn't feel awesome. Although probably feels a little better than just top pair with a 6. But you want to go big here, right? You want to punish the 4. You want to punish the 3. And you do want to kind of protect your hand to a certain degree. He goes for quite a small sizing here, actually, which is interesting. he is stacked in a way where the small sizing can still get him all in by the river as well. That's not to say that this is a spot where he really loves to get it in, but he takes it down. Easy game.
So ace king for Centaurus. And nobody else really has much. Centaurus is the shortest stack right now, 1.4 million at the start of this hand. But likely to add to that, if you can pick up the blinds and antes here. Yeah, so now it's Pedro Padilla who is the shortest stack. And we are switching to pick up Adrian Mateos versus Justin Bonomo, and it's a straight draw versus a set.
Yeah, I mean, opportunities, but not a ton. Two streets, 14.5% here. You got to set on the one, like the wettest texture of all time in the history of poker. No, that can't be true, but it is pretty wet. He's probably going to want to go ahead and raise here. The way this is set up, his opponent will have a ton of stuff that's like a pair and a straight draw. And yeah, I mean, he's going to take it down a chunk here, but yeah, no, it's definitely a spot where you don't want to mess around. You can really punish there when they have a considerable piece. If they wake up there with an overpair, for example, you're probably going to get a chunk because you're kind of representing the pair and a straight draw often when you raise there too. So seems good.
Still 7 minutes till the blinds go up to 40,000, 80,000 as Amadi limps the small. And Kowalski does not check his option, raises.
Oh, no respect whatsoever. James.
Around the 5 million
mark. Ridiculous. Are you seeing this? Absolute disrespect there with the 4-deuce off. I mean, this is, if you guys watched my streams back in the day, like, you know, you can absolutely go to town in that position. You know, big blind versus small blind. Even if you're playing against good players, it's so hard to play well in that position. And he is, you know, really, really exploiting the fact that they're the two big stacks at the table. They don't want to tussle. You don't want to get messed up in a situation where you got kind of a final table stack going. You know, we're not far away now. Like I was saying about those pay jumps, very meaningful. Amadi's like, you know what? It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. He will have some limp traps though. Absolutely.
And we have now reached a situation where there is a pay jump with every single elimination now. And we are 2 away from the 6-figure scores as Justin Bonomo gets it in with King Queen, does not meet any resistance. And we're switching to find Ellis Parsonen with kings against Chris Oliver with not very much at all.
Air. Good work to the production team. There's lots of action here. The switchy.
Got to stay across both tables with 10 players remaining, 2 tables of 5. This is the final table bubble of the biggest buy-in event of WCOOP 2021. This is the $25,000 super high roller, $3 million prize pool, switching 657K top prize.
Okay.
King 4. Wins
Looks
it.
like a C-bet, yep. King Queen, come on. Have you ever not played King Queen in this situation? There it is. There's the raise.
Yeah, the only issue with this section of the tournament is that we're not going to see a lot of post-flop play, Nick. And with that, we get a flop. Thank you, Adrian Mateos, for proving me wrong.
Okay, I want to see the size. Show us, Justin. Show us the way. Now, and the check is also completely respectable in this situation, too. He's correctly assessing the fact that this is a flop that hits his opponent pretty hard when he defends in the big blind here, and he can just have the best hand. The problem is when the board pairs and his opponent bets, you still have to be calling with the king queen here. You can't slow down on the flop and then not call the turn in this situation unless you are in one of those situations where you're trying to manage your, manage the ICM. As expected, I do like the call, but Yeah, there it is. The flaming berries on the river. This is an awesome spot for him to turn his hand into a bluff, but also he doesn't have to. Like king queen on this texture is just going to be the best hand a ton. I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes to showdown. Yeah, like he's played his hand in a way where he recognizes he's going to have the best hand a lot on the flop. He recognized the fact that his opponent will bet as a bluff quite frequently on the turn. And when it runs out like that, why bluff? Why bluff? You're going to be winning so often with king queen, which is why he played his hand with like that on the flop in the first place.
A no bluff there from Chris Oliver, who loses that pot to Crazy Lissy. And Lissy now with kings. Centaurus with sixes.
Ooh, tough spot for fives. You could absolutely slam it here, and I think he might be justified in doing so. Oh, it's so close. So close. He lets it go. Kings in the big blind, obviously feeling pretty sweet. Again, look at this adjustment. You know shoving fives is going to do fine there. You know it's going to be good. But we're this close to the money. This is where it matters. And these guys making these awesome adjustments for this late game tournament poker. This is the kind of stuff that people overlook that seems trivial, but is so significant to your overall win rate if you're going to be a tournament player. It's very, very important.
Centaurus lets this one go.
Okay, king five feels like a steal. Feels like a combo that you want to raise with here, I think. Okay, goes for the limp. It's probably close to a 50-50 there. I think it really could go either way. You got kind of this blocker effect with a king, but you do also want to have some limps as well, absolutely.
Another ace, and king high still the best hand.
Yep. If you're going to play king five like this, again, recognize you're just going to have the best hand a ton. Short-handed play dictates you play with a wider range. And on this kind of texture, king high is crushing. Like, yeah, I think people totally underestimate how strong this combo is in this situation, especially on a paired board. No reason to get funny. I think Centaurus will probably go, yeah, he's going to go ahead and try and take a shot here. I think king high is a mandatory call in this situation. When you've under-repped your hand like this, I say under-repped, like it's a made hand, but you get what I'm saying. You're confident all the way. The problem is that you are going to run into people that are good enough to recognize that a 9 is a serious value bet, so you will be forced to fold, right? So if you're playing against players who just generally speaking are playing ABC, and not ABC, they're playing sort of weakish, you're going to go, okay, this is just a huge bluff. I just checked twice, and now he just wants to take a stab. But if you're playing against really good opponents on that river, they're going to value bet the 9. They're going to value bet bottom pair because they recognize that your action on the previous streets has indicated a king high, you know, sort of high card combo that is going to get quite sticky in that situation. So really, really cool play there.
So a reminder that we are currently hand for hand. That's why we are switching to the other table where we go to the flop. It is Justin Bonomo, Adrian Mateos, round 17. And it is the flush draw for Bonomo, who also has the best of it right now with ace high.
So it looks like there was some action pre-flop. And then it went check, 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 check. I think, James, that looks about right. Like a min raise and then 2 checks, something like that.
I believe so. Bonomo wins it with a bet on the turn, and blinds are up 40,000, 80,000 with a 10K ante. This is getting shallower now, and it's going to put the pressure on the shorties. And there is no player shorter right now than Pedro Padilla, who's playing 1.2 million.
Okay. I like the flat here from Justin. Wow, great spot for Justin here. You can do all kinds of wacky stuff here. At this stack depth, you can rep all the pairs here. You know, you can have all the small pocket pairs trying to peel a little bit here, trying to get lucky with the sets. I mean, you got a gutter. And what do we know about poker? Texas Hold'em, you got a gutter. You can really go to town if you want to, if you choose to take that action. I think the big scare for him here was probably a small blind flat.
Yeah, and now we have top pair for Spaze 411.
All right.
8 on the river does not change anything. And is this going to get checked to showdown? Oh, a funky little bet from Adrian Mateos.
Yeah, no, that's you're not winning this pot, buddy.
Takes a stab,
no chance.
gets called. And we're switching. And
I
Chris Oliver on the button with ace queen of spades raises. Elis Parsonen pocket fives.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Just bang it in. Put it in. Don't mess about. Don't be silly. Don't be ridiculous.
We're off to the races.
Putting it in every time.
Fives still ahead. Queen on the turn, though. And that will see Elis Parsonen eliminated in 10th place. There is still action on the other table, so let's go over there now. We are definitely at the final table. Question is whether we'll be going to that FT with 9 players or 8. Looking at these hands, I think it's probably going to be the former rather than the latter.
Yeah, I think the one takeaway that we've seen consistently is just like, look how cagey they're playing, right? You know, like I was saying earlier about the adjustments that people are making for this late game situation. I think this is super, super, super interesting.